Imagine standing in front of a target 50 meters away. The crowd is watching. The pressure is crushing. And in your hands, nothing, because you don't have any. Now imagine hitting the bullseye anyway. Not once, not twice, but becoming one of the best archers in the world. Sounds impossible, but that's exactly what Sheetal Devi did, and her story might completely change the excuses you've been telling yourself. Sheetal Devi was born in a small village in Jammu in Kashmir. From the moment she entered this world, life seemed unfair. She was born without both arms due to a rare congenital condition. No one chooses the body they're born into, but society often decides what someone can or cannot become based on it. People looked at her and saw limitations, a life of dependency, a future filled with barriers. And honestly, most people would have accepted that prediction. Most people would have spent their lives asking, "Why me?" But Sheetal asked a different question, "What now?" And that single difference changed everything. Think about your own life for a moment. Maybe you weren't born without arms, but maybe you've been carrying something else. Fear, self-doubt, failure, a difficult family situation, a lack of money, a dream everyone laughs at, different burden, same feeling. The feeling that life gave someone else better cards. And that's where most people stop. Not because they can't continue, but because they've convinced themselves they can't. Sheetal could have done the same. No one would have blamed her. But she didn't. One day, coaches noticed something unusual. Despite her condition, Sheetal was incredibly athletic. She could perform tasks using her feet with remarkable control. Then came a crazy idea. Archery, a sport that normally requires both arms, a sport that seemed completely impossible for her. Even experienced athletes would have laughed at the idea. How can someone without arms shoot arrows? But impossible is often just a word people use before someone proves them wrong. While others saw a problem, Sheetal saw a challenge. She trained, failed, adjusted, trained again. Every movement had to be reinvented. There was no instruction manual, no proven blueprint, no one to copy. She learned to hold the bow with one foot, pull the string using her shoulder and leg, balance, aim, release, again, and again, and again. Imagine how frustrating that must have been. Most people quit when progress is slow. Most people quit when success isn't immediate. Most people quit when they look foolish. But greatness often begins exactly where comfort ends. Then something extraordinary happened. The impossible started becoming possible. Targets were hit, scores improved, competitions were won, and soon, the girl people once pitied became someone the world admired. Sheetal Devi went on to win international medals and became one of the most inspiring para-archers on the planet. Crowds stood in disbelief, not because she had no arms, but because they realized how small their own excuses suddenly sounded. Here's the part that hits hardest. The biggest obstacle in Sheetal's life wasn't the absence of arms, it was the expectations attached to that absence. And the same thing happens to us. Sometimes the prison isn't reality, it's the story we've been telling ourselves about reality. I can't because I'm not talented. I can't because I'm too late. I can't because I failed before. I can't because people will judge me. But what if those are just stories? What if the limits you've accepted aren't actually limits? What if they're just beliefs? Think about it. A girl born without arms learned to do something that was designed for people with arms, and yet many perfectly capable people never start the thing they dream about. Not because they can't, because they're afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of being uncomfortable. Sheetal's story isn't really about archery. It's about refusing to let circumstances become identity. Your circumstances are real. Your challenges are real. But they do not get the final vote on your future. You do. The next time you hear that voice saying, "It's too hard. It's impossible. I can't," remember Sheetal Devi. Remember the girl who stood in front of a target with no arms and hit the bullseye anyway. Because sometimes the difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one is deciding that your limitations don't get to make your decisions. The world will always tell you what you can't do. The question is, will you believe it, or will you prove it wrong? And maybe your greatest weakness is actually the place where your greatest strength is waiting to be discovered.